What's up, all? It's Zeke here with a new team for the post-Walrein meta. I'm running a team that is sure to win against Walrein, considering all three of these Pokemon win against Walrein. The pros and cons are really that on one hand, Walrein has nowhere to go against this team, so whether you encounter it on the lead or as a closer, you'll be alright as long as shields are even. On the other hand, ironically, even though this is a triple counter team, the whole back line is weak to counter itself. So it's very weak to counter or other fighters in general. So if you're not seeing many Walrein or if you're seeing a lot of fighters at your ELO, I wouldn't recommend running this team. But the key to running this team really is managing Deoxys well. Basically, if you don't see a fighter or in some cases a Nidoqueen or a Poison on the lead, you're going to want to switch out at some point. But anyway, getting right into this first game here, as you saw right away, they had a Medicham on the lead, which is what Deoxys wants to see. Honestly, if that's pretty much the best you can hope for is seeing Medicham on the lead if there is going to be one, because Deoxys is really your only way to deal with it. So you stay in. Medicham can't hit you for super effective damage or really hit you that hard at all, even if it's the power up punch kind. I throw the Thunderbolt, and then he swapped to this Hypno here, so I switched to Obstagoon. Now, I feel like as soon as I switched to Obstagoon, he probably decided he was just going to let this go, which is why I wasn't throwing my Night Slashes straight away, because I had a feeling he was just going to let them through. I try to farm a little bit extra and let myself be in the red so that Medicham can't farm me down too much, and I am able to get off at least one Night Slash against that Medicham before he completely farms me down. So he only gets, I think, 2 counters off on me, which is not too bad. Or maybe 3. So I go down. I'm going to come back in with Deoxys defense after letting the clock run a little bit. I don't think that we're that desynced either way, but it's fine. I come in with Deoxys. He's going to throw a move right away, but like I said, there's really nothing that Medicham can throw that does a whole lot to you. Its biggest nuke is Psychic against Deoxys, which is resisted, and you're already pretty bulky. I lag a little bit there, but what I wanted to do was throw the Psycho Boost and just get out of there. As long as I have some energy on Deoxys, I can deal with that weakened Medicham later. I want to come in with Vigoroth right away because those counters from Vigoroth are going to do some good damage against the Shadow Abomasnow here. Now, I took a shield. I wanted to see if I could get both shields so I don't have to worry about Medicham at all later on, but he only gave me one, which is fine because, like I said, I'm coming in with Vigoroth, and really what Vigoroth wants to do is just counter completely down against something as brittle as Shadow Abomasnow. That's going to be pretty easy to do. I am going to have to give up both shields to make that happen, but I know I'm safe to do that because Medicham is either energy dry or pretty low on energy after throwing that Psychic. And really, the most threatening move at this point is the Weather Ball. So I'm willing to give up both shields to that Abomasnow and completely farm down. And now I'm at 2 Body Slams, so this game's over. Because even if he wants to prolong things and shield the first one, maybe he doesn't know that I have 2, but I'm just going to throw them both consecutively. And that's going to be the game. So, yeah, this first game really came down to a lot of it was just me being well aligned against that Medicham the whole time with Deoxys and not having to worry about Medicham really going to town on my back line, because Medicham can definitely beat Obstagoon and Vigoroth very reliably. Doesn't even need to shield. So I'm happy that I encountered that Medicham on the lead game 1. Game 2 here, similarly, against Nidoqueen leads, this is where you want to be. Deoxys versus Nidoqueen. It's sort of a catch-22 because you can't really throw the Psycho Boost, because if you do, you'll have to switch out, and your backline doesn't really want to have to deal with Nidoqueen either. Although in a shield advantage, I think you can win at least with Vigoroth. So he swaps out trying to catch the Psycho Boost, I believe. I hold on to my energy typically with Deoxys because it doesn't really need to throw anything right away, and throwing Psycho Boost, like I said, will debuff me and make me want to have to switch out. So I build up to that Thunderbolt, and I'm able to throw a Thunderbolt at Medicham right away. And then at this point, my goal is to just get out of here with Deoxys eventually. But I'm trying to chip this Medicham as much as I can because, like I said before, my backline doesn't really want to see Nidoqueen, but it really doesn't want to see Medicham. So I think I had initially wanted to switch out of this matchup, but then decided later on, you know what, If I do switch, I'm going to get a bunch of counters on me either way, so maybe it's better that I just stay in here and try to just take this Medicham out. So that's what I end up doing, even though I had debuffed myself twice by this point and my counters were doing really nothing, especially to a Nidoqueen. Yeah, so I'm going to let Deoxys go down. There I probably should have switched as soon as the Nidoqueen came in, only because, like I said, I was double debuffed, and Shadow Nidoqueen with an energy lead is really scary. I hadn't been keeping count at this point of how many poison stings it got off, so I was kind of in a position where I had to shield either way. I didn't want to risk the Shadow Earth Power coming through and almost one-shotting Vigoroth. So I shield, but it's just a Poison Fang, and I'm forced to now double shield because I don't even want the debuffed Poison Fang damage on me. Fortunately for me, he swaps out after going down 2-0 shields. Maybe he figured whatever I have in the back is something that Stunfisk could handle with a 2-0 shield advantage, and then his Nidoqueen could close the game out later. But being that this is a triple counter team, there's really nowhere for Stunfisk to go. So even though I'm down 0-2 shields here, this is still very winnable for me. He's going to get to the Earthquake, and it's going to chunk Obstagoon pretty bad, but I'm in a position now where I can definitely go for Cross Chops. Because he has 2 shields, and because I know he has to use them, he doesn't want Stunfisk to go down just yet, I felt pretty safe throwing that Night Slash, and I was hoping for a buff, but I didn't get it. Either way, I knew he was going to shield, because if he didn't, the game's pretty much over. With a healthy Vigoroth in the back, he has to get rid of at least Obstagoon. So here, I believe I had been counting, and I figured that this wasn't an Earthquake. Otherwise, yeah, I could have thrown the Body Slam right away to try and take him out. But once he threw that Rock Slide there, I was pretty safe to just farm him completely down, and I think he knew that, so he swaps to Nidoqueen here. Maybe hoping to just sack it and thinking maybe he can get to another move with Stunfisk to win the game. But I don't think that was really the play, because it ends up costing him. And I was just about to get to another move, and either way, another counter would have taken him out. So he surrenders at the last second there. Okay, so game 3 is going to be a Nidoqueen lead once again. And again, Deoxys is going to be able to beat Nidoqueen. But in the 2 shield scenario here, where our shields are both full, it's not really optimal for me, because if I throw my Psycho Boosts, I'm going to have to switch out, and then I'm going to have to put myself in the position of having Vigoroth or Obstagoon face off against Nidoqueen, which I don't want. So just the threat of Deoxys being able to throw a Psycho Boost is usually enough for Nidoqueen to want to switch out, which is what he does here. He's able to catch that Thunderbolt, which really any of the 3 moves Deoxys would have thrown would have been resisted against Ferrothorn, so it's a great switch if you think you can catch a move like he's able to do there. I switched to Vigoroth, and I probably should have switched to Obstagoon here, because at least then I could get to a Cross Chop before taking 2 Power Whips. But what I end up doing is coming in with Vigoroth, and I eat the first Power Whip, and I'm going to have to shield to avoid losing all that energy. And now I just completely farm down, and at least I have some residual energy to deal with this Nidoqueen now. So I have enough energy to throw the Bulldoze, and they know that. So I'm able to throw a Body Slam bait here, and they have to respect it. So I get the shield. I'm right at a second one before he can get to a Poison Fang. So now here comes the second one, and he's going to have to either shield it or pretty much let this Nidoqueen just about go down. And he does shield. So now we get both shields, and he's deciding he's just going to farm me down since he knows I'm not going to get to another Bulldoze there. Unfortunately for him, I do get to another Body Slam. So Vigoroth just pumping out damage. Really, sometimes the MVP on this team. And yeah, at this point, I could have come in with Deoxys, but I was kind of worried about another Earth Power taking me out. I think Nidoqueen probably wins CMP. So what I wanted to do was force him to throw something. At least that way, all he could do was throw a Poison Fang against Deoxys if he did win. He goes for a Poison Fang, and I immediately swap to Deoxys to just throw that Psycho Boost and get rid of this thing. In hindsight, it probably would have been better to just straight counter, because I still don't think he gets to an Earth Power in time. And then I'd have more energy and wouldn't be debuffed for what's in the back. Fortunately for me, though, it's going to be a Jellicent in the back, which a full health Obstagoon can easily handle. So really, any energy I'm getting here is just icing on the cake. I'm able to get to a Thunderbolt, which is going to be, debuffed, but even a debuffed Thunderbolt is nice chip damage. And like I said, Obstagoon's in the back, so this game's pretty much over. I think Ice Beam's probably a 3-hit KO, maybe even a 4-hit KO against Obstagoon. But at least 3 Ice Beams it's going to take. Yeah, at least 3 Ice Beams to take me out here. So I'm very safe just countering and going straight Nice Slashes to win the game. Buff or no buff, this game is pretty much wrapped up here. So I believe I had said before that I would have rather come in with Obstagoon against the Ferrothorn, but in this case it ends up working out for me, since Vigoroth in the back would have had a much harder time against this Jellicent. It still wouldn't have been able to really throw Shadow Balls against Vigoroth, but the Ice Beams would have been tricky to deal with, as Vigoroth would have had to either throw Body Slam or build up to a much more costly Bulldoze, which is still not super effective. So all in all, things kind of worked out for me there. Now, this is the only tricky thing about this team, I guess. Like I said, dealing with other fighters, but particularly in this mirror match here, because you don't know if they're going to also be running some kind of triple counter team, or if it just happens to be a Deoxys on the lead with a more balanced meta core. But because you don't really know what's in the back line, you don't know if you need to save your Deoxys or not. And the interesting thing about this mirror match is that so he has Rock Slide and I have Thunderbolt, and neither of us want to throw our Psycho Boosts, but looking at the Sims, Rock Slide Deoxys actually beats Thunderbolt Deoxys by like 1 turn if they have identical IVs. So this matchup pretty much is entirely dependent on your IVs, or if you manage to sneak a counter through, you can flip it, I guess. But knowing that it wasn't really going to be going well for me, I decided I had to switch to something. So I opted to switch to Obstagoon here, and Medicham comes in, which is not ideal for me. At this point, I'm thinking maybe he's also running a triple counter team. But another fighter is definitely not a good thing for this team. I'm glad I switched Deoxys out, but now I'm kicking myself and wishing I had switched it out even sooner. Also, I probably should have gone to Vigoroth, since Vigoroth at least is not double weak to counter and can get off a couple body slams before going down. Sometimes that's a double-edged sword, though, because if it's a power-up punch variant Medicham and you come in with the bulkier Vigoroth, he might just get a couple power-up punches off on you. And then by the time you come in with Deoxys, or especially Obstagoon, you're going to be in big trouble. So this is kind of a last-ditch effort at this point to deal with this Medicham. He shields, knowing that I probably don't have anything else to deal with it since I came back in with Deoxys. And now you'll see, I mean, Vigoroth's matchup against Medicham is not very favorable. I do have to shield this just in case, not knowing its full moveset yet. I take an Ice Punch, and now I'm out of shields. So it's up to Vigoroth to pretty much take down this whole team, since I still don't know what's in the back, and we know we have counter Deoxys to worry about. I'm able to get to another Body Slam here, but I mean, it's really not going to do a whole lot against Deoxys defense. It's really just chip damage at this point. I'm just trying to kill time if I can to see if I can get into my own Deoxys defense to kind of just eliminate his Deoxys and maybe save a little bit of health that I had on Vigoroth for whatever's in the back. But unfortunately, the clock doesn't come up in time. He's able to Psycho Boost to take out Vigoroth, and this is pretty much GG. I end up surrendering because neither of those moves is going to do much to stun Fisk, and he's going to be able to get to his, even a Rock Slide is going to take me out at the health that I had left. So unfortunately, not able to win that one. But coming into Game 5 here, I finally found one. I was hunting for Walrein the whole time with this team and didn't see as many as I thought I was going to. But this is great. You know, Walrein on the lead is exactly what you want with this team. I mean, like I said at the beginning of the video, Seeing it anywhere is fine, but especially on the lead, because right from the start you already know it's there. So even if it retreats back, you know that you know what your end game's gonna be. So against Quagsire, I figured just throw the Psycho Boost for a little chip damage. I can basically switch anywhere at this point, since I can't really lose switch knowing that Walrein is on the close. I still don't know what the last Pokemon is, I suppose, but it's probably not something that's going to be able to completely flip this game, because no matter what, I still have a fighter going to be left in the back to deal with his Walrein. So it's more about not dropping too many shields so that Walrein can't, take advantage of shield advantage to flip the matchup, since I think for at least for Obstagoon and Vigoroth, it's probably about 5 turns that'll decide who wins, and basically in even shield scenarios. So able to take the Quagsire down after taking big damage on Obstagoon, and now here's the thing: like, he doesn't know that my last Pokemon is also a fighter, so he comes in with Skarmory here, thinking, okay, like I'd rather have counter go into Skarmory instead of into Walrein. But that's actually advantageous for me, because if he had saved Skarmory for the matchup against Vigoroth, I would have had a much harder time. But fortunately for me, he comes in with Skarmory. I'm able to just spam Thunderbolt against it. And I have to shield because I have to use Thunderbolt, like I said, to deal with Skarmory. Vigoroth has a pretty hopeless matchup against Skarmory if he gets his Brave Bird especially. So he switches here, maybe hoping to catch a move. Maybe he doesn't know how many it takes for me to get to my Thunderbolt, and he was counting more for Psycho Boost. But in comes Walrein. I immediately swap out because, like I said, I need to preserve that potential Thunderbolt for the Skarmory in order to win this game. Counter is going to really chunk Walrein, and Icicle Spear is basically a Body Slam clone, so I know that I can take it without giving up shields. He's already down shields, and even though I have one left, like I said, Vigoroth can't do a ton against Skarmory, so the best bet is to just let this go and get to another move if I can. Right as I got to the Body Slam, he takes me out, but that's fine because these wing attacks or air slashes are not doing much to Deoxys, and I'm able to get to my Thunderbolt, and that's going to be the game. So yeah, really fortunate that he aligned the Skarmory with my Deoxys, because if things had gone a little differently, I might not have been able to close that game out. But yeah, so this team's a lot of fun when you don't face a lot of counters like Poison, so like Nidoqueen on the lead, or Medicham. Scrafty can be a little tricky too, because obviously you can hit Scrafty for super effective damage, but Foul Play does a lot to Deoxys, especially after a boost, and your backline can't really do much to Scrafty either. Flyers can be a little tricky too, but Deoxys, obviously you saw against Skarmory, can handle the Flyers pretty well most of the time. So the team, yeah, very unbalanced. I should have said this at the beginning of the video, but I have to give credit to Wallower, another YouTube Pokemon content creator. He definitely popularized this team and gave me the idea to run it. So shout out to Wallower. It's very unbalanced, like I said, and it definitely depends on what you're seeing at your ELO. But if you're running into a lot of Walrein, it's a lot of fun. And I definitely enjoyed playing some of these games. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the battles, and by all means, if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. Appreciate it greatly. Yeah, running subsequent sets with this team, I definitely saw a lot of anti-Walrein, so my next video will probably be like a anti-Walrein team. But yeah, I'll see you next time.